Hey everybody, I wanted to do a little tutorial on Parcel. Now, if you already use Webpack or Gulp, you know that we need these tools to do things like compile our Sass files into CSS files and concatenate our JavaScript files and minify them. Now, Webpack and Gulp are great tools, I'm not knocking them at all, but one pain point that I've found is that you do have to set up this config file before you can even do anything. And of course, this is great if you have a complex website and you have a lot of tasks that you need to have that extra level of control. But if you're a beginner or you're just setting up a really quick front-end website project, you don't want to have to spend all that extra time setting up all your configuration for your build. This is where Parcel comes in. Even just out of the box, it comes with a lot of defaults where it'll automatically convert your Sass files to CSS files, and you can concatenate multiple JavaScript files into one file. So it'll save you a lot of time, and honestly, I think I'm going to be using Parcel from now on instead of Gulp, at least for all my simple projects. So let's get started, and I'll show you how you can get up and running with Parcel in just a few minutes. I think you're going to really like this. So here's their website. It's at Parcel.js.org. They say that they are a blazing fast zero configuration web application bundler, which I suppose is true. Let's click on this, get started. Okay, like everything else, you can install Parcel on the command line by using npm or Gulp, npm or yarn, and we're going to use yarn in this case. So I have this little mini project set up already with like an HTML file, a JavaScript file, and a Sass file. So let us install Parcel. Okay, pretty easy. And then the next thing we want to do is create a package.json file. So yarn init. Okay. Here's our package.json file. There's just, our basic information here. And then the next thing to do is to run Parcel to build your website. All you have to do is type Parcel and then your HTML file. In my case, it's index.html. And we can see here another awesome part of Parcel is that it will spin up a local server for you. So localhost with port 1234, everything's been built. And let's check that out. All right, so as you can see, this website's just very bare bones. I just wanted to create a simple site to, just demonstrate different things and test out some of the compiling and make sure Parcel does everything we want it to do. And yes, this text is upside down. If you just need the basic configuration, that's literally all that you need to do. Now let's see how Parcel works. In our index.html file, we're loading up here our script.js file. So in here, in our JavaScript file, this is where you can import your Sass files or other files if you're using less. But I think most people nowadays use Sass, and I personally use the SCSS syntax for Sass. So import that here, and then I added some JavaScript here. I added this thing with ES6 syntax just to test that. So that's how Parcel works. When you run the Parcel command on the command line, it has this dist folder, and in it, it adds the compiled HTML, CSS, and JavaScript files. You can see here, in the original HTML file, there's no reference to your CSS file. But in the compiled one, it did add the link to the CSS file, which is here. And this is basically everything that I had in my Sass file. And obviously, it has the JavaScript file, which has a lot of Parcel stuff, but here's the code that I had added here. So it just does a lot of things for you and you don't need to worry about them. Now, one thing I did want to check was we want to make sure that our CSS styles that need prefixing have their prefixes. And if you see here, I have a transform property. In the CSS file, it's just transform. We don't have the WebKit one. So what do we need to do for that? If we look back on their website, we can see that they actually have pretty good documentation on different things you can compile and build. So under the CSS section, it's saying you can use PostCSS to use auto prefixer, which is what we want to do. So unfortunately, this does mean that we need to create a config file. But let's add auto prefixer down here. So we'll stop our staging server and install PostCSS. And it's thinking. All right, everything's done. So now in our package.json file, you can see that we have auto prefixer and PostCSS modules added. So let's just rerun Parcel index.html. Oh, I'm sorry, actually, I forgot. We need to create this config file. PostCSS RC. So we'll create that new file here. And I'm going to test this out, but I did run into some issues earlier when I was trying to do this. We will deal with those as they come. So let's rebuild. And you can see that it's installing Sass, so it seems like something's happening. Let's just make sure that our website loads correctly. And okay, looks like something went wrong here. The transform's not working. There's just no CSS for this test class here. So let's see what happened. So this is, again, the compiled CSS file that we have. And it looks like it did add our prefix transform property, but it did this weird thing that I did read about, where before we had just this test class, and now it added all this extra, like, I guess, randomly generated stuff. I'm assuming to make it unique or something. Obviously, that's not what we want, because in our compiled HTML file, it still has this class test. So I'm not sure exactly what this bug is, but it's not something we want to happen. I think there might honestly be a mistake in this config here, because I looked online somewhere else, and they actually didn't have this module's true line, and they didn't have this extra stuff here for auto prefixer. So they just had plugins auto prefixer is set to true. Okay, so it looks like it did build when I updated that, which is kind of cool. So this is our compiled CSS file. The test class is back to normal, still has auto prefix styles, and let's load the site. Actually, it looks like it auto reloaded, which is kind of cool. Let's test that really quick. So we'll go back to our SCSS file. Let's just do color red. Let's see if that, okay. So in the process of running your little staging server, anytime you make any kind of change, it will, yeah, it looks like it'll rebuild. So that's another cool little feature that Parcel does for you, that you don't need to hit Control-R or F5 or whatever it is that you use to reload your page. And the last thing we want to check is, you remember we did this ES6 syntax here. So this is the compiled JavaScript file again, and we can see here I had a const called test number, and it has converted it to a var. So that's really all that you need to do if you just have a simple website project with CSS and JavaScript. Yeah, I'm pretty much gonna just use Parcel from now on instead of Gulp. I think Parcel is it's just so easy to get up and running. You could just have this ready to go in maybe a couple minutes. Anyway, I hope you found this tutorial helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment below. Otherwise, we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.